Something is out there, hiding in the shadows. Bonk can't see it, he can't hear it, but he is almost certain it is there. Because just about 30 seconds ago, when a branch snapped in the dark, everything in his body is screaming at him that it wasn't the wind. The fire is the only thing keeping it back. And it has always been the only thing keeping it back. You are looking at what night looked like 20,000 years ago. No walls, no locks, no backup plan. Just fire. Just darkness. And whatever was living in it. This is what a routine night looked like for ancient humans such as Bonk the Caveman. It is late afternoon and Bonk is already nervous. Every person in his group feels it. That quiet shift in the air when the shadows start stretching and the temperature begins to drop. During the day, humans had real advantages. They could see, they could coordinate, they could chase prey and track footprints and communicate across distances. But at night, those advantages evaporated. So the final hour of daylight was not relaxing. It was a scramble. Firewood gathered, as much as possible, more than you think you need, then double that. Bonk is hauling logs right now, arms completely full, Chomp weaving between his legs trying to trip him. Caves were ideal when they could find them, dry, sheltered, defensible. But bears, lions, and hyenas used caves too. Moving into one without checking first was a very short story with a very bad ending. When caves weren't available, the group built what they could. Hides over branches, rocks stacked against the wind, anything between the group and the open night. And fire. Always fire. Fire was not optional. Fire was the entire plan. And once that sun touches the horizon, everyone moves a little faster. Here is something your modern brain genuinely cannot process. On a cloudy night with no moon, the darkness was so complete you could hold your hand directly in front of your face and see absolutely nothing. The world didn't dim when the sun went down in the ancient world. It disappeared. Bonk is sitting at the edge of the firelight, staring into the black. Beyond that warm orange bubble of light, the entire world is gone, replaced by sounds he can hear but cannot locate. Rustling, wind, something moving through leaves. Chomp is staring into the same darkness with enormous yellow eyes and an expression of intense, professional interest. Unlike Bonk, Chomp can see perfectly well in the dark. This should be comforting. It is not comforting. Chomp's expression is not comforting at all. The sky on a clear night was absolutely exploding with stars. No light pollution, no haze, just the full, raw, blazing universe overhead. Beautiful, yes. But also a reminder of how small and soft and slow one human being really is. Bonk pulls his knees a little closer to his chest. Smart, Bonk. For once. Let's talk about what was actually out there. Because it wasn't just darkness. The darkness had residents. Wolves. Bold, coordinated pack hunters who had been sharing territory with humans for thousands of generations. Cave hyenas. Larger than their modern relatives. Powerful enough to crush bone. Smart enough to sit just outside the firelight and wait. Lions. Not just the lions of Africa. Cave lions. Heavier, broader, built for cold climates and dense forest. A cave lion in your territory wasn't a rare event. It was a neighbor. And bears. Cave bears that made a modern grizzly look like something you could negotiate with. Bonk knows all of these animals by name. Not their scientific names, obviously. But it's close enough. Every night was a territorial negotiation. The fire held one side of the argument. Everything outside held the other. And the fire could go out. If someone fell asleep on watch, if the wood ran low, if rain came down hard and fast enough. The wall came down. Bonk is currently adding 3 extra logs to the fire that absolutely do not need to go on yet. But hey, who's going to stop him? Now here is what the history books don't always tell you. The night wasn't only fear. Come closer to the fire and look at the faces gathered around it. This is where human culture was born. Stories were told, hunts relived in dramatic detail. The mammoth that took 3 days to track, the river crossing that nearly went wrong. These stories weren't entertainment, they were education. How knowledge traveled from the people who had it to the people who needed it. In a world with no books, no writing, no other way to pass it on. Bonk is currently telling a story with very enthusiastic hand gestures. Nobody clapped, but they're listening. And that's how it worked. Songs happen too. Simple, rhythmic. Anthropologists believe music is one of the oldest human behaviors we have. Older than agriculture. Older than written language. Chomp is currently asleep on someone's feet. The fire crackles. Someone laughs. A child falls asleep mid-sentence. For a moment, just a moment, the darkness feels far away. Then something snaps outside the firelight. Not close. Maybe 40 feet. Just beyond where the light dies and the dark begins. And the entire group goes still. Not quiet. Still. The kind of stillness where you stop breathing without deciding to. A strange sound. In that direction. In the darkness. The storytelling stops. The laughter is gone. Even Chomp's ears swivel forward, locked on the tree line. Someone reaches slowly for a spear. Silence. 10 seconds. 20. 30. The fire pops and everyone flinches. This was the reality of ancient nights. Not the predators themselves, but the not knowing. Was it a branch? A small animal? Or something large, pausing, deciding? A minute passes. Nothing moves. Nothing comes closer. Slowly, the group breathes again. But everyone stays just a little more alert for the rest of the night. Eventually, people slept. Not the way you sleep. They slept in a pile. The most vulnerable in the center. Children, elderly, injured. The strongest adults forming a ring around the outside edges. Safety in geometry. Bonk is currently in the middle, which tells you exactly where Bonk ranks in the group's assessment of his own toughness. Sure, Bonk. Chomp has claimed an entire corner despite being the smallest individual present. Nobody moved him. Nobody was going to move him. Ancient humans likely slept in 2 phases. Early sleep after dark. A waking period in the middle of the night. Then a second sleep until dawn. That middle waking wasn't insomnia. It was normal. And somebody always tended the fire, feeding branches to the coals, watching the darkness so everyone else could rest. They were without question among the most valuable people in the group. Now, we need to address something nobody in the ancient world could avoid. Imagine you have made it through most of the night. The fire is burning. The group is asleep. Chomp is curled up like a very spiky throw pillow. Everything is fine. And then, you have to go to the bathroom. Outside. In the dark. Where the wolves are. You did not wander off alone. You woke someone. Moved quickly. Stayed close. Kept something sharp in your hand. And you did not, under any circumstances, linger. Chomp would sometimes follow on these trips. Not out of loyalty. Out of aggressive curiosity. Not helpful. The opposite of helpful. But very on brand for Chomp. You were never truly alone. You were never truly off duty. Not even at 3 in the morning. Not even Bonk. And so the night went on. The fire burned lower and was rebuilt. The darkness pushed in and was pushed back. Bonk made it through. He always made it through. Chomp is already awake at the entrance of the shelter, watching the sky turn gray with the calm confidence of someone who was never scared to begin with. Here's what is easy to forget about ancient humans. We think of them as primitive, as less than, as a rough draft of what humans eventually became. But the people gathered around that fire 20,000 years ago were not rough drafts. They were fully formed human beings, with the same brains, the same emotions, the same capacity for love and fear and humor and grief that you have right now. They just did all of it without walls. Every night was a test, a real one, with real consequences. And the fact that they passed it, generation after generation, in the cold and the dark, with nothing but fire and each other. That is why you are here. Tonight, when you reach over and turn off your bedroom light, think about Bonk. Think about the fire going low and the darkness pressing in, and the sound of something large moving just beyond the light. Think about how every human who ever lived before the last few thousand years fell asleep to that sound. And survived it anyway. The night hasn't changed. We just got better at pretending it isn't there.